What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to JellyGoonTv. Welcome back to all my beautiful viewers and subscribers, of course. Welcome back to the gorgeous JellyGoon squad. Today we have another video. We're going to react to D-Day from the German perspective, animate history. Now we're going to take it not from the American perspective, not from the British, the Canadian, Russian, whatever. Russia was not really a part of D-Day, but I'm just saying, we're going to take it from the German perspective, what they saw, what they did. We're going to watch this video. How did they react to what they have to protect and all these different things, what they had to do, how they had to defend, everything like that. So without further ado, I just want to say this is no way form the sympathizing what they did, Germany people on that beach. They killed a lot of people. I think it was around 40,000 or 80,000. I can't really remember. Died on that beach. Was it lower than that? Please don't quote me on that. I'm sorry if I get it wrong, but without further ado, we're gonna get to this. But before we get to that, I really want to say, please do support the social medias down below. Go to Instagram and all that good stuff. Go over, check my daily, not vlogs, but sometimes I post pictures and, you know, promotion for these videos. But yeah, anyway, go over, check them out, support. Anyway, my gorgeous JellyGoon squad and the new viewers, welcome, and let's get into it. Let's go.
A trio of German officers stand on the parapet of the Atlantic Wall.
Okay.
At their head is Erwin Rommel.
Zweifelt keinen Moment daran, dass die Amerikaner und Engländer landen werden. Aus ihren Schiffen wird sich eine Welle von Männern und Stahl auf unsere Strände ergießen und wir müssen darauf vorbereitet sein. Wir haben Minen, wir haben Panzersperren, wir haben den gesamten Strand aufgeklärt. Wenn wir doch nur die Panzerreserven hätten. Ob in Calais oder hier in der Normandie, es steht dasselbe auf dem Spiel. Das Schicksal Deutschlands hängt vom Ausgang der ersten 24 Stunden der Landung ab.
Wow.
Für die Alliierten als auch für Deutschland wird es der längste Tag werden.
100% true.
Hi, I'm Griffin Johnson, the armchair historian. The story
Nice.
of D-Day
I like the
and
background
its
and everything like
accompanying
that.
airborne and partisan operations is well known from the Allied perspective, but seldom is this critical juncture of the Second World War looked at through the eyes of those defending the Atlantic Wall. Seldom are the stories of individual German soldiers studied. In today's episode, we will revisit our most popular video, D-Day from the German perspective.
Alright, man, so I just want to say it's kind of taboo to look from the Germany perspective because people, they're gonna, you know, for example, on this video, they're gonna comment down below, oh, you sympathize with the German people, you sympathize with the Nazis. Now, I believe there's a difference between the Nazis and German people. Normal German people who sit and get a coffee in Berlin and who just live their lives and not trying to do anything or trying to be a part of anything, or their sons go to war. What is that kind of difference than Americans or Russians? You know what I mean? Like, I know the political aspect and all that Nazi shit is freaking horrible wrong, and I hate it from the bottom of my heart, but still you can't regret or you can't forget that they are people too. There's a lot of people who thought the war was stupid. Like, why would Germany do this to people? There's a lot of things, but you have to understand this. If you're in Germany and you talk like that, you get shot instantly. Like, you get killed, your whole family get killed. It's simple like that. There is no empathize, there is no freedom of speech, there is no nothing. It's just occupation and it's locked down. You get shot if you talk about it. So that's why I hate people that comes to this conclusion that they just, you know, oh, you a fucking Nazi, you support the Nazis, oh, you say it's sad for German people. What about my people who died? What about 270 million German people who disappeared randomly after World War II? What happened to them? Don't they deserve justice? I think so. But anyway, I just wanted to say that it's kind of funny that they take it from the German perspective. I think it's kind of interesting because we never really hear that. It's always from the Allies' perspective, Russia, everything like that, America, British, Canada, whatever. Now it's kind of funny to see what the German people think about it. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's go.
Bring you recollections from the men who saw the French sky darken with paratroopers and the English Channel teem with battleships and knew that the end of the Reich was at hand.
Okay.
Here's a quick question for you. What did George Patton, Albert Kesselring, and Bernard Montgomery all have in common? Well, aside from being officers in the Second World War, they all suffered from unfortunate cases of male pattern baldness. And as we all know, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Which is why today's video is sponsored by Keeps, a subscription service focused on making it easy for men seeking treatment for baldness. Featuring 24/7 access to a licensed doctor with personalized treatment plans, affordable versions of FDA-approved medication, and more 5-star reviews than any competitor, Keeps is the obvious choice for any man interested in keeping his hairline intact during even the longest and most stressful campaign. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/armchairhistorian or click the link in the description below to receive 50% off of your first order. That's keeps.com/armchairhistorian.
All right.
The D-Day landings did not take the Germans completely by surprise. On the contrary, the highest echelons of German command were well aware that an invasion was imminent and of the least possible threat. The Führer was confident that the Atlantic Wall, stretching from the border of Spain to Norway, would not only repulse any Allied landing, but cause so many Commonwealth and American casualties that the Western Allies would lose their capacity to continue the war. Fritz Bayerlein, a senior aide to Erwin Rommel in Africa and later commander of the Panzer Lehr Division at Normandy, held the debacle at Dieppe up as incontrovertible proof the Allies could not manage an amphibious assault.
Really?
The series of
So
successful Allied amphibious landings in Italy gave even Hitler pause, however, and he placed Rommel in charge of shoring up the defenses along the English Channel. Rommel's task was an inevitable one. Concrete was at a premium, with the lion's share of Germany's supply going to the construction of hardened U-boat shelters per Hitler's direct orders. French laborers and Italian POWs were conscripted to improve the defenses. Turrets from captured French tanks were made into makeshift emplacements named Tobruk's after a jury-rigged reinforced firing pit Italian soldiers had built with buried cement pipes in North Africa. And extensive minefields were laid. Perhaps Rommel's most ingenious inventions were the Rommelspargel, or Rommel's asparagus. Webs of metal wire strung along fields of short poles meant to shred gliders as they tried to land, alongside anti-ship mines placed into the beaches atop angled poles driven into the sand. But static defenses were only part of Rommel's strategy. Hitler and the High Command had become convinced the Allies would land at the easy-to-reach Pas de Calais. Operatives confirmed this loudly and often, falling for the Allied deception operation, Operation Fortitude. Rommel, for his part, began to shift his view toward an Allied landing at Normandy. The beaches were similar to the Italian shore, and the Allies would want to maximize their chances of success by striking on familiar ground. Regardless of where the Allies came, Rommel argued that the only way to beat them back was through defensive action on the beaches, meeting the Allies as they landed and denying them the opportunity to take even a centimeter of ground.
Alright, so I just want to say one thing, and this is my opinion and my conclusion of the strategy of World War II, how England and Britain, they really, put this on. First of all, I want to say I think it was a mistake going to Normandy. I think it was a mistake to invade that part of France or whatever it is. I think they should have went through Denmark, because Denmark do not have long beaches. It's very short. There's very easy access to the main thing, and it's not really a long beach or anything like that. And yes, the Germans did have bunkers there, but I think the odds will be much more less casualties. You know what I mean? Like casualties less than it was on Normandy. I really think Denmark was perfect to invade and just, go through the forces there, because maybe you wanted to go to Normandy, but again, you have to think about strategize-wise that you start from the bottom to Germany. Denmark is very close to Berlin. That's the reason why they should have gone to Denmark. Now, Denmark was occupied by the Germans, but they did not have many forces in Denmark. They did not have all these panzer tanks and whatever you call it, because Denmark was an easy target for the German people. They knew that it was not hard to let the government, you know, overrule. There's actually a movie that you have to see if you're really interested in that. It's called The 1st November or May, I can't remember. 1st of May, I think it is, the 2nd of May, where the German advance into Denmark took place. We basically have soldiers on bicycles. I didn't know that. That's crazy, man. But yeah, actually, one of the cities that is in the movie is the city 12 kilometers away from here, where Danish soldier from the south, bless their heart, rest in peace, my brothers, love you so much, thank you for fighting on. They were actually fighting still when the government gave up. Now, a lot of people blame Denmark for giving up on the 7 hours or whatever they did, but you have to understand, Denmark is a small country with not a lot of resources and not a lot of soldiers. You see it right now. We are, you know, switching over to diplomatic wise. We always did diplomatic reasoning. We always talk to people and always that. But there was actually soldiers in that city next to me, that fighted on even the government. You know, they shut down the country and said, Germany, just come. And a German officer told the Danish soldier, he's like, why are you still fighting? Your country already gave you up. Like, you don't have to fight anymore. Why are you fighting? Like, what's going on? But that's the Southside brothers. That's where we from. We love our country, and you know, it's hurt my heart to, you know, yeah. It's really bad because it's the history of the South. But I really wanted America, Canada, everything like that to invade Denmark. I think it would be a lot less land to cover. Plus, they could get the resources over from Britain to Denmark easily, very easily. Now, of course, I understand the Germans had fleets, but I don't think they were that advanced. I, of course, have no idea, but I'm pretty sure I heard that somewhere. But I really hoped that they would take Denmark, because Denmark is very easy and there's a short way to Hamburg, Berlin, everything like that. And you can occupy the borders and everything like that, put up artillery positions, you know, do all these kind of things. And it's kind of flat land. There's not much mountains or anything like that. It's very flat land. So that's the reason they don't have to climb mountains. They don't have to worry about bunkers on freaking mountains up on the top. Like, they don't have to worry about that, because Denmark is basically just a low country, like a really low, not below the sea level, but really low country. So I don't know why they did that, but yeah, without further ado, that's my opinion. Of course, you can have a different opinion, but I really think it would be more strategy wise, and not many people would be lost if they invaded through Denmark. But yeah, let's go.
Given the quality of the troops defending Normandy, this was far easier planned than executed. Normandy was the responsibility of the 7th Army, whose units in the area were, to put it mildly, of mixed quality. Promising recruits were siphoned off by SS, Fallschirmjäger, or Panzer recruiters, leaving a contingent of unfit or unremarkable men. Among the defenders of Normandy were the so-called ear and stomach battalions, composed of soldiers convalescing from combat wounds to their abdomens, or who were experiencing hearing loss, and Osttruppen, foreign auxiliaries from conquered lands forced to fight for the Reich, including many Soviet POWs. Naturally, most proved highly ineffective, with many deserting to join the French resistance or surrendering to the Allies at the first opportunity. The few capable soldiers either suffered from endemic fatalism, such as Captain Eberhard Wegemann of the 21st Panzer Division, who commented, "We were well aware that neither our men nor our tanks were good enough,
Really?
or were almost fanatically prepared to meet their foes." This attitude was usually evinced by the younger SS troops.
Let me just, wow, so they were not prepared. I really did think they prepared the defensive positions, and they really did a lot of things to do this, to stop the American advance, but that's kind of messed up for the Americans and British. Rest in peace to all the soldiers. You did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for the peace and things that you brought, but it's kind of bad because, you know, it's the worst of the Germany soldiers. But again, they had a position that was very good for them. They were on mountains shooting down with machine guns. Everybody can win a war like that. But yeah, America and Russia won, of course. But yeah, let's go. That's crazy. I didn't know that. I thought they really fortified that. The fateful morning.
As June 5th crept into June 6th, the Kriegsmarine pulled patrols from the English Channel. German meteorologists had declared the weather unsuitable for an invasion through June 10th. There was, scientifically speaking, no chance of a landing. Rommel took these assurances as an opportunity to go on leave, returning to Germany to celebrate his wife's birthday and arrange an audience with Hitler to request additional panzers along the wall. Friedrich Dollmann, commander of the
Nice.
7th Army, ordered a command post drill for his officers on June 6th. The evening was shaping up to be a quiet affair, and the Germans began preparing for the next day's routine, until Allied bombs began falling.
What?
This itself
Nice.
was not unusual, as the Allies had launched near-continuous runs against the Germans for some time. But this raid was an overture to Operation Overlord. As sentries fought off sleep, gliders began to make silent landings. As officers crawled into bed, paratroopers began to descend to Earth. Bewildered German commanders found enemies literally raining down on their heads and desperately rang to their superiors or assembled cells of ad hoc resistance.
Wow, so they did parachute.
Lieutenant General Josef Reichert, commander of the 711th Infantry Division, recalled a night of drinking in the officers' mess ending in combat. The inebriated officer, pistol in hand, stumbled out into the night to find British paratroopers raining down on the 711th's command post. Reichert and his men were able to fend off the assault, and the still drunk general desperately rang to his superiors to announce the beginning of the Allied invasion. In the American landing zones, Lieutenant General Wilhelm Fahly, commander of the 91st Luftlandedivision, Division, was ambushed and killed by the 82nd Airborne just behind his headquarters near Saulmais-Iglay. Other Germans proved less willing to give battle. Rainer Hartmetz, a soldier serving near Normandy, rushed to his command post to find his officers gripped by battle shock. Two men were simply catatonic, while Reiner's company commander was sprawled drunkenly in a foxhole. Every time a runner brought news from the front line, the commander would idly threaten to execute anyone who returned to the scene of the action.
Really? Wow.
As dawn began to light
That is some
the
crazy
Normandy
things.
coast, the Germans were shocked to see an Allied armada steaming toward them. With no naval...
It must be very, very hard. Like, these people are normal people like everybody else. Of course, their ideology is fucked up, but, like, imagine just going down in a hole and you can't come up and your body shuts down and you just sit there pissed drunk and you don't know what to do. You're scared and you just make those empty threats, whatever you make. It must be very scary to be a part of this, but I really do like that the Americans and all that made paratroopers behind enemy lines. I really do think that was a great idea, really great idea, even though many people got shot, but rest in peace to these people, really beautiful people. Let's go.
Forces to challenge them. The Allied landing craft and their escorts took up their positions in the English Channel. And that's when the shells began landing.
Tales of Omaha Beach. Uh-oh, okay.
The opening bombardment of Omaha Beach caught German shore batteries in the middle of preparing for gunnery practice, turning what should have been a morning of plinking in the Atlantic into a scramble for survival. Weathering this bombardment was the 716th Static Infantry Division, a unit of notoriously low quality, composed of decrepit or boyish conscripts and ill-motivated Osttruppen. The division was denied the usual allotment of artillery and heavy vehicles their peers in the army enjoyed, relying on a hodgepodge of German armaments and foreign heavy weapons. But the 716th was not alone at Omaha, as other areas were defended by the much more powerful 352nd Infantry Division. As battle was joined on the beach and American servicemen scrambled for cover, machine gunner Heinrich Zavalo of the 352nd could see the water spouts where my machine gun bursts were hitting, and when the little fountains got close to the GIs, they threw themselves down. They lay in the shallow water. Many tried to get to the most forward beach obstacles to find some cover behind them.
Man.
I fired some more at the many dark foams in the water. Zavalo's senior, one Lieutenant Frerking, pitied the Americans as poor swine, even as he called more artillery strikes onto the floundering infantry. All over the beach, Zavalo could see wounded moving around on the bloody, watery slime, mostly creeping, trying to get to the upper beach and find some cover behind the shingle embankment. One by one, they would occasionally run in a crouch. As the day went on, men like Zavalo and their heavy weaponry would
Let me
make
just, I'm getting tears in my eyes because, you know, it's young kids. It's not grown-ups. It's not grown-ups who stormed the beach. It is kids, 18 to 25, whatever. 80% of Minnesota, whatever it was. It's just, you know, it's fucking kids, man. It's not even soldiers. It's just a bunch of fucking kids who signed up to something they don't have no idea what is. And that's why I get tears in my eyes, because it's young people, it's young kids, man. It's just messed up. It's so fucking messed up. I don't know why you use kids to fight a man's war. I have no idea, but they did. That's one of the things I hate about this war, is they used the kids in the beginning. But yeah.
Omaha the deadliest landing on D-Day.
Because it was horrible for them, man. Yeah, sorry about that.
The 716th Division at Sword Beach was a sorry affair. The overstretched Germans were severely lacking in air support or completed fortifications, and had utterly failed to coordinate with coastal artillery in their sector. The area teemed with vacation homes and coastal settlements, and save for some emplacements in the sand dunes and a handful of beach obstacles, was largely undeveloped.
Yeah.
The individual soldiers were also of low quality, with Lieutenant Karl Haida bemoaning the condition of his division's officers. Many had been severely wounded previously. Some became unpleasant or socially inept due to their early harsh war experiences.
Yeah,
I will not deny that some did get drunk at times. Lieutenant Schaff of the 716th noted that the rank and file were overworked and ill-motivated, too busy putting up wire and planting Rommel's asparagus to have much time for training. Indeed, the mix of Germans and Osttruppen defending Sword Beach routinely evinced a lack of care, as artilleryman Hans Glaub describes his fellow gunners failing to keep their pieces clean. Sword would prove to be a relatively smooth landing, with the Germans yielding the beach to British forces with minimum casualties. Their attitude would change when they met the more professional soldiers of the 21st Panzer Division, launching a two-pronged counterattack to the east and west of Sword. However, Major Hans von Luck, commander of the Eastern Thrust, wrote in his memoir Panzer Commander of attempting to lead the 2nd Battalion of the 21st against dug-in British paratroopers, only to be stymied by Allied aircraft and naval fire.
Oof.
The German defense at Utah Beach was compromised by the airborne operations. Cut phone lines had crippled their ability to exchange information, while the spread-out landing zones made mounting a large-scale defense difficult. Utah and its environs were defended primarily by the 709th Infantry Division, made up of older Germans, and the ever-ubiquitous Osttruppen, armed with a bizarre mix of weapons. French, German, Polish, even Russian armaments filled their stores, but blessed with competent leadership at least. Lieutenant General Karl Wilhelm Graf von Schleben, overall commander of the 709th, would order an actual organized counterattack in the face of the airborne assault, arranging for the 100th Panzer Battalion to drive forward to meet the 82nd Airborne at Saint-Mère-Iglay, and at their critical bridgehead over the Mérida. The 100th would be driven back by the 82nd in spectacular fashion as the obsolete French tanks they deployed against the Americans were annihilated with bazookas and gammon grenades. But the 82nd were not the only paratroopers in the area.
Type somebody is very
the 6th Paratroop Regiment, under the command of Major von der Heite, pushed out of Carentan to reinforce their ground-based colleagues. As they came upon the Americans' landing zones, the Germans were astonished at the number of parachutes left behind. Yards and yards of silk littered the fields of France. The Fallschirmjäger would push onto the commune Saint-Côme-du-Mont, where Heite climbed the church steeple and saw the endless armada in the channel. Things were not much better for the Germans on the beach proper. Lieutenant Arthur Janke commanded Fort W5, a network of bunkers and pillboxes built into the dunes over the beaches, which was all but destroyed by the morning bombings.
It's crazy how much more stories you get when you hear the other side of inside of the battlefield. Like what happened, what is the disarray, what is the people experience, what is going on with the mental health, what motivation is there any at all, what weapons do they have, you know? And this is just sloppy defense, like really sloppy defense. Like they could do so much better because they are a big empire, but I think that whatever his name, Hitler is or whatever, is just, you know, trying to maybe thin out the numbers, I don't know, or not thin out the numbers, but thin the resources all over the country because he took over everything. So there's a lot of resources that gotta go to that, of course, and he was scared of Russia too, of course. I don't know if that was there. I don't think so. It was. I don't know. They landed 1943, right? I think they did. I don't know. Sorry. But yeah, it's kind of important to learn the culture of this war if you look at the enemy side and what they've been through, what did they experience, what did they write down, what happened with the bombing and everything. And you can see that Britain did a beautiful job, and American artillery, whatever it was, artillery did a beautiful job by scrambling all the German soldiers. I think that is very beautiful made, very good strategy, of course, very beautiful. But yeah, it's definitely hard to listen to these soldiers' stories because it's like I could just imagine what you feel, but there's nothing like the World War One. I just have to tell you, World War One is one of the most horrible wars still today. It is just unhumane wise, not the children and all that, but unhumane, you know? So yeah.
Recalled how the raids obliterated his position. Avalanches of sand and concrete buried his men alive, forcing them to be dug out even as the assault on the beaches began.
Wow.
Spotting the American landing craft, Janka ordered what men he could rally to dig in, and ordered a dispatch rider to make for the nearest artillery battery to shell the beach. Janka's rider would be intercepted by American paratroopers.
Really?
There was
Good
little
job.
Janka and his men could do as the landings began in earnest, with men and floating tanks fighting their way through the surf and straight toward the ruins of W5. A blast knocked Janka to the ground, and as his eyes fought to focus and the ringing in his ears subsided, he looked up through his skewed spectacles to see an American infantryman standing over him.
And we don't talk about more.
As combat intensified on Normandy and reports of paratroopers and an Allied fleet flooded high command, the General Staff thought to themselves, this is all an elaborate ruse. The General Staff passed this thought around as Hitler slept in. As more and more Allied troops and heavy equipment began making their way onto the beaches, Hitler finally rolled out of bed to be met with word of the invasion of France. The Führer could not have been happier. Hitler declared again that the Atlantic Wall would throw the Allies back, and he eagerly anticipated following up the inevitable failure of the Normandy landings by raining V-1 bombs on London. The Western armies would be ground into the sands of France, and the seat of his hated British enemies would be blown to smithereens by superior German weaponry. But as the day dragged on and the Allies began to gain ground, the frontline commanders flooded High Command with requests for support, requests to do something to prevent their positions from being overrun. The beacons of Normandy were lit, but High Command would not answer the call for aid.
Really?
Hitler, the only man on Earth who could release the panzers, would continue to insist that the Allies could and should be thrown back on the shore.
Yeah, okay. That's good for them, though, that he doesn't release the hounds. 100%.
This thinking had managed to seep into some of the defenders on Gold Beach. Friedrich Wurster helped crew a battery of 4 captured Czech cannons at Marie Fontaine near the beach. Wurster firmly agreed with his Führer that the Atlantic Wall was impenetrable, an attitude he kept right up until the British overran his commander's spotting position near the shore.
Of course.
In the face of Allied superiority in men and materiel, Wurster and his fellows quietly surrendered. Further behind the lines, the Germans were hard at work trying to corral the French civilian population. propaganda vans drove through calm, ordering the population to remain indoors while the German authorities began to arrange for the evacuation of key parts of the city. At von Rundstedt's headquarters outside of Paris, telephones rang continuously, and teletypes spewed seemingly infinite messages. Combat at Gold Beach began in earnest when the first landing craft dropped their ramps. The moment the metal hit the surf, German machine guns and artillery opened up on the British troops, who fought hard to clear the beach and sweep the fortified coastal houses the Germans had worked into their defenses. Indeed, the Germans put up a fierce fight at Gold, with elements of the 352nd Infantry raining fire on the British from a cliff top over the beach at Amel, including devastating volleys from a Flak 88. The British were only able to unseat the Germans at Amel with tank support, including a mortar-armed member of Hobart's Funnies.
That's good. Nice. Good job. Tales of Juno Beach. I don't know if there was different beaches. I thought it was just Normandy, but yeah, okay.
Elements of the 12th SS Division spotted the invasion fleet anchored off of Juno Beach in the early morning hours. Lieutenant Peter Hansmann of the 12th recalled being awoken by his NCO in charge, shaking my shoulders. Herr Leutnant, the invasion has started. Hansmann rushed to a vantage point near Gold Beach. Looking through my binoculars, I recognized the individual outlines of ships. At irregular intervals, flashes of ships' artillery were coming from various spots.
What do you call that?
Fast boats with high, white, foamy bow waves were spitting out brown clumps of men on the beach. The lieutenant counted over 400 ships in the channel from his front row seat to the end of the Third Reich.
That's a lot of souls,
I wanted
man.
to
That's
shout
a lot of
at all the
soldiers.
generals right up to Adolf Hitler. Over here, quickly, before it's too late. Whoever can still fight, come here. The fastest, most powerful divisions, send them here. The Luftwaffe, where is it? The Kriegsmarine, where is it? It must get here. Grenadier Hans Weiner, who defended a position on Juno dubbed WN-31, recalled watching the first Tommies jumping into the sea, which was quite shallow. The bullets hit them and their boats to good effect, and I was a little surprised to see them falling. I don't know why. Weiner's position was eventually torn apart by the tanks coming ashore with the Canadians, which managed to drive inland under the barrel
Canadian in the building, what's up?
poised to shred them as they emerged from the
Nice,
surf.
good job, Canadian.
88mm
Let's
gunner
go,
Heinrich
Canada.
Sebel complained of
Back
not
in the
being able
building.
to see many tanks due to the smoke and chaos, though his gun claimed at least 2 Allied tanks before their blockhouse 2 was blown apart.
Damn.
The Germans provided a much tougher obstacle for their foes at the Tailleville Chateau, roughly 1 mile or 1.5 kilometers inland. Tailleville was supposed to be the starting point for a second line of defensive works laid out by Rommel before the Allied landings came. It was a well-built strongpoint, with a full communication and command complex and underground tunnels connecting it to Tobruk turrets armed with machine guns, cannons, and mortars.
Damn.
The defenders managed to hold the Allies back until nearly 6 p.m. that day, with their final message before the position was taken reading, "Hand-to-hand fighting inside the command post, hemmed into a closely confined area, but still holding out. Heil Hitler." Not long after the fall of Tailleville, the Canadians began making their way toward the Luftwaffe airfield at Copycat, one of their key objectives. The commandant of the airfield ordered an evacuation, inciting panic in his ground crews. The Germans made a hurried attempt to destroy the aircraft before they evacuated, but their haste proved fatal. Attempts to raise the airfield left most of the taxiing area of the runway untouched. The takeoff runway was damaged, but not sufficiently to render it unusable, and the vast majority of the field's fuel stores were salvageable. In this one case, haste ended up lessening waste.
It's crazy.
From the invasion of Poland all the way up until D-Day, the story of the Second World War is told from the perspective of the ascendant Nazi Germany, the Bronze Eagle casting a wide shadow over the history of the early war. But from the very moment the first Allied boot makes landfall in Normandy, the narrative changes, and the rest of the war is studied almost exclusively from the Allied perspective. We hope you have enjoyed hearing these personal recollections from German soldiers on Normandy, and agree with
Let's pause here. that was a beautiful video. Really did enjoy it a lot. You learned a lot about the German perspective and all this. It is really amazing to see these videos, and I really do enjoy them a lot because they really do explain a lot about the German perspective, that they was not prepared. They didn't have the forces, they were wounded, they had PTSD, they have shell shock, whatever you call it. I don't know what you called it in World War II, but it's kind of crazy to see these things that the soldiers are just trying to scramble and trying to do whatever they can, so they were not prepared. You always listen to these stories from the Allied side, like, oh, they were prepared and blah, 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 blah. I know there's a lot of people who died, and rest in peace to these beautiful people. Thank you so much for your service and your contribution to Europe. Really do appreciate it a lot. Rest in peace. But it's still just, you know, the perspective of the Allies is, oh, they were so prepared, they were so horrible, blah, 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 blah. Well, the Germans didn't even try. They didn't even send their best forces. They didn't even send anything like that. So that's the crazy part that boggles my mind, is that was not even German special forces. I think the problem with Germany, why they lost, is because they took it too lightly. They took America and Britain and Canada, Russia, they took them too lightly. They thought they could stomp them over, but you don't know American spirit, you don't know Canadian spirit, you don't know British spirit, and you don't know Russian spirit. They're gonna crush you all in one if you fuck with them. It's just, yeah, it's not even imagination, but it's kind of interesting to see it from the Germany perspective, the German soldiers and all of that, what they've been through and every that. And I think you were supposed to learn from every perspective of the World War II history. I don't think you should keep it biased and just learn from the Americans and what they did, or the Russians or anything like that. Not to sympathize with the Nazis, but really understanding what happened, reading their diaries, what did they think was going on, what were their strategies, how did they do things, you know what I mean? Because it's really, really important to see that in a war where you think, like, what is going on with Germany? What did they think in the specific moment when they were invaded, and what did they do? And now we know it, of course. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, anyway, guys and girls, I hope you liked this video. If you really did like this video, please hit the like button down below. Also, please do subscribe. Hit the notification button if you want to get updated, and please, we're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, so be massively appreciated if you wanted to support. Of course, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, anyway, guys and girls, I love you so much, and I'm gonna see you into the next one. Oh, also, please do remember to comment down below whatever you think about this D-Day. Do you have any information you want to share? I really think it was a great thing to do. Not a great thing, but I thought they were gonna invade Denmark instead, because it's much more easier to the main country of Germany. Now, you probably have an opinion yourself, and I would love to hear it in the comments down below. Please be respectful, and don't call me an idiot for having my own opinion and asking questions about things and learning about perspective and anything, because if you do that and you are hostile against me, you are the fucking toilet brush and the idiot. So yeah, anyway, my beautiful people, keep it clean, keep it nice, but I'm gonna see you into the next video. I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. Peace.